Okay. So, good morning. It's so great to see everybody. This is an exciting day for us. Um, my name is Walter Coffey, and I'm here with Kim McRae and a bunch of others. And we're going to kind of be your host through this hour and a half together. And so this year, we usually have an annual summit, as you know, and everything keeps getting rearranged and postponed. But we decided to have a rally. And a rally is coming together for a common action or common effort. And that's what we've been demonstrating in Georgia with becoming more person-centered in our work and really looking at changing the culture of the way we support older Georgians. So it's a very exciting time, and we're going to briefly hear over this hour and a half from a lot of different areas and aspects and folks giving us updates on what's going on in the state. It's been so exciting after starting the Culture Change Network back in 2008, just to realize that everybody is still engaged. You know, when being person-centered is meaningful engagement, and we've really demonstrated that in our state. And I'm just so proud and I'm so grateful that we work together in our state for the greater good of older Georgians. It's not common, and there's people that have different kinds of factions and different approaches. But when we came together in Georgia, a lot of work had been done in tracking this movement when it was first started, and watching OBRA, CMS, different groups, especially on the West Coast, some in New York, creating conversation. And then some folks in our state had been active, some individuals, some of the staff with Georgia Healthcare Association, and definitely our quality improvement organization, and actually went to the St. Louis Accord back in the mid-90s. But the Pioneer Network that was emerging as our national leader, and now we have actually one of the original pioneers and the founding executive director of Pioneer Network, Rosemarie Fagan, is now a Georgia girl. And so she thought she was coming to retire, and we were like, no, that's not going to happen. So you just have to, put on your big girl panties and drive into Atlanta, and we need you. And so she jumped right in, and it's been so exciting. So Pioneer Network asked us to get our act together in the states and form coalitions. And so in 2008, we came together and we just asked everybody, let's form this, let's come together and make Georgia a great place to grow old. And it was one of those weird times where everybody said yes. We have providers in every area of aging services, the provider networks, our quality improvement organization, associations, government, even CMS, because they're located in Atlanta Region 4, said we'll send a rep when we can. It's just unbelievable the way that everybody came together. And so we've been able to maintain that, which tells us that we're doing the right thing. And we originally came together and said, do we want to start another nonprofit? How do we want to organize this? And we said, let's just form a network of individuals and organizations that want to move forward the work in Georgia. And we'll call ourselves Culture Change Network of Georgia. And every year in January, we come together, we'll review that and say, does this structure work for us? Do we need to be more formalized? How do we want to do that? The Georgia Institute on Aging, Leading Age, said, they're a 501c3. We can put Culture Change Network there in case, the QIO or somebody wants to give us money, and we can have a place to take it. And so that actually happened a few times, and we could have our summit. And we said, we want to form a website. We need a website so we can start telling people what's going on. We want to create a common language in our state so we can all start speaking the same language. And so we chose to use the Eden alternative language about nurturing the spirit of older adults and dealing with loneliness, helplessness, and boredom. And who knew after the pandemic how significant that was going to be for all care partners, all of us, right? And then we said we wanted to have an annual summit where we come together face to face. We luckily enough, of all of us in our state, we've worked on national projects and grants and all kinds of stuff. And we know all the national movers and shakers. And so we just started bringing them to Georgia, from year one. And we've just grown and grown and grown. And now, so today, we just want you to hear some of the things that are going on, because there's a lot more. I mean, we could break this down, but this is high level. And some folks only have 5 minutes, but they're going to give you in a nutshell, what's going on from their perspective and their world. So we can get this recorded, and we'll have it for people around the US are watching what we're doing and giving us a "that a boy, you're doing good, that a girl, you're hanging in." And so we're kind of a national model for our success. So I hope everybody's proud. So we're gonna before we have we're gonna show you one of our social media videos that we'll talk about. But Kim, you want to say anything before we do that?
Yeah, just welcome everybody with the rally. So here, rah, we're cheering for Georgia. And we're going to start by watching a little video that we made called "Who is Culture Change Network of Georgia?" So roll it. And we're not having any sound.
No. Some reason the sound is not working. There it is. Beautiful. So one of our biggest accomplishments is just finishing a 3-year grant that is going to have a huge national presence, as well as helping folks in Georgia. So Jen, you've got until 10:30 to tell us everything you want us to know.
No pressure. All right, so I'm happy to be representing the Culture Change Network of Georgia and the Georgia State Gerontology Institute, and telling you a little bit about this grant that's just about to end in February of 2022 after a no-cost extension. Building resources for delivering person-centered care in Georgia's nursing homes. This is the team. I'm just the steward of the team. The team is mostly here on the call today. We've got wonderful consultants and educators and a great staff at GSU. We had 3 goals. The first was to do a needs assessment to really understand what the barriers are to culture change and person-centered care, what the facilitators are, and what the training needs are. We were really excited to say that we got 853 surveys. It was quite a challenge because of COVID. So we ended up doing that data collection before and after COVID. So about half, so 23 nursing homes that were randomly selected were surveyed. And so we're really excited to be processing that data and getting that report out, hopefully by the end of November. We did resident chats. Our friends at AG Roads helped us with that. We did them over the video chat. And then we used our networks to find 15 informal care partners of people living in nursing homes, and did some interviews with them too. And that was really enlightening. The second was to really help resource the state with different kinds of information. You all are probably engaged with our social media. If you're not, please like us on Facebook. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You're going to get that a couple of times probably today. And we're on the newsletter. You can also subscribe to our newsletter through our website. And so we spent 3 years developing all of this content and pushing it forward, including newsletters and the social media posts, which have these little micro learning videos, which you just saw one of. The newest sets of micro learning videos are the direct care worker job quality ones that we just finished previewing, and they're available on YouTube, really helpful for organizations who are looking to improve recruitment and retention of direct care workers. Use them in huddles and think creatively about how you might improve your workplace and make it more supportive for direct care workers. And then we did we're in the middle of a series on residents' rights. We have 8 videos on residents' rights, which is really exciting and lovely to have. And we encourage you to use them, and use them again. These are all the links. Kim, maybe you could put those in the chat so that people can link to them on their computer. But these are the links to the website, to the Facebook, to LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. Any of your preferred, we're going to try to push even harder on doing all of the social media sites. So whatever your preferred social media site is, we're going to be on it. Maybe not Snapchat or TikTok, but we'll see. We'll see. This is our beautiful website. It got a facelift during this grant, and we're going to have more investment into it in the next grant, and we're really excited about it. And then this is just sort of the overview of the whole 3 years. We ended up with 51 micro-learning videos, more than we had planned on. The 9 playlists that we showed on YouTube, newsletters and emails. We had over 1,200 email subscribers, an average of 261 posts per year on Facebook. Facebook is definitely the social media platform that we're most on, with 993 Facebook likes and 1,095 followers. We'd love to get that number over 1,000. So if you want to be one of those, or you want to encourage, like your kids or your parents or whoever to get on that, we would love that to happen. Please, please, please like us on Facebook so we can get to 1,000, because we've been working on this for a little while and we'd really like to get over that hump. It will make Celeste's day. I mean, she needs somebody to make her day. So please, please do that. Okay. And other standout results, the dementia, it's not just Alzheimer's, has sort of blown us away. And how many impressions? 46,632 impressions on Facebook. So it was shared internationally, and it's pretty exciting that we had that kind of impact. We hope that we can do that with other important videos that we created. This is the beautiful graphic work that Celeste Green and Ken McRae do. This is the YouTube playlist, and then that's the video page, and this is the playlist page. Lots of different resources depending on what kind of organization you're part of. You can use these in huddles, you can use these in staff meetings. They help to just spark conversation. We do have a sheet that sort of can help you if you need a little bit of help to use those for your staff meetings. We encourage you to do that. And then yeah.
And while you're at the YouTube channel, subscribe to the YouTube channel, because I would love for us to get 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. And I think
83, we got to go to 1,000. Wow.
I know, we have a long way to go.
We have a ways to go, but that would be lovely. All right. And then the third goal was to really deliver education, provide awareness education all across the state. We did a lot of partnership with Georgia Healthcare Association and got out to many of those conferences before COVID. Then after COVID, when they pivoted, we pivoted with them and did some more with video enabled education, but also different conferences, but mostly the scholarships went to allowing people to get education. In the end, we got 354 scholarship stipends disseminated to nursing home staff, which is really exciting. And the CCNG advisory group that meets quarterly was our the advisory group for our grant, and really was just so wonderful, and all the discussion and input that they provided to us to keep our grant grounded in the reality that is long-term care over this difficult time. And then finally, we wanted to develop, test, and launch competency-based online modules that weren't just videos that you put in the VHS player if you're old school and sit and watch. They had to be, they were discussion-based. They were led by a facilitator at the nursing centers, and had homework so that they would apply it in each home. We had 2 organizations pilot that, Heart of Eastman and Herdmont Rehab in Alberton, Georgia, and we call that Culture Change Matters. The series of education that's for supervisors and for direct care and support associates, a combined total of 20 hours of continuing education delivered in that manner in the nursing center, with discussion, with homework on a weekly basis. Takes about 6 months for an organization to go through Culture Change Matters. And in the end, we also, based on the pilot feedback, developed an onboarding version of Culture Change Matters. So you can run the class, and you can also, every time you have a new staff member, which if you're a provider is every day, having new staff member, and as you have new staff members, they can go through an abbreviated version of it and be up to speed on culture change and person-centered care, which is just lovely. This is the website, the pretty website of Culture Change Matters. And then we just wanted to share this quick video testimonial about a pilot site experience. I'm still okay on time.
Yeah.
Oh, this
Culture change matters. The culture, or how you do things in your organization, really matters. And that really gets down to the values and the principles and the beliefs that you and everyone in your organization has. So who does it matter to? Well, it matters to all of your staff. It matters to the residents and the families. It matters to your bottom line. It matters to the outside community when people are trying to figure out if they want to move in or utilize your organization. It also matters to the people you're trying to hire in this difficult situation that we find ourselves in with the workforce. Culture really matters, and culture change really matters. Why does it matter? Well, first of all, CMS really believes in person-centered care and culture change. Another reason why culture change really matters is because it's the law. It's written into the rules and the regulations. It's what residents and families and staff want. It helps retain staff. And now that we're having more and more educated and informed consumers that have really been studying and learning more about good practices, especially during this and after the pandemic, people are going to be looking for organizations and centers that are practicing person-centered care and really living out culture change in their organizations. Now, when we talk how to do it, that's a whole other story. It's well and good to talk about it, but how do we do it?
Right. So we created Culture Change Matters, this educational series, to help you understand what culture change is and also how to do it. So we've been talking about this in the United States. This movement has been around for over 30 years. And many of us, like we've had the opportunity in Georgia to work on a lot of national projects with the Pioneer Network and different entities, Eden Alternative, Greenhouse Model. For years, we've been talking about that. And these modules, this basic overview to understand culture change and how to make it work, is something that we've been wanting to do on a national level for a long time. So now through this grant, through CMS, the Department of Community Health, as well as our culture change partners right here at Georgia State, the Gerontology Institute at Georgia State University, we've been able to complete this 3-year grant and develop these modules just for you. And so we're really excited about it. And we know that it's going to touch you in a way that will be really meaningful for you. So we hope that you'll stay tuned and you'll move through this process and understand more about the series and how you can make all this come alive in your organization.
So I didn't do a great job of teeing up that video. I was ahead of myself, but you all realize that that's our own Walter and Kim, and they were talking about the culture change. That's one of our overview things. So one of the things that the pilots asked us to do was to do more videos that sort of orient people to the different modules. And so that's our introduction video that I think they just did a fabulous job on. Of course, they are fabulous. And I'm not biased at all. So both nursing centers completed the pilot. We got positive feedback. Heart of Eastman's here telling us that they think that Culture Change Matters series should be beneficial for all. And when they said that, I said, "What do you mean all nursing centers, or you just think there's specific ones that could be this could be useful for?" And they said, "No, all nursing centers." So their center specifically used it to springboard for the Silver Award for GHCA and JCO accreditation. And they suggested that it would be foundational. And then we have David Milner, who is at Herdmont and in Alberton, and he made us a really fancy testimonial video. When I expected something that was going to come off his phone, it ended up being pretty fancy. So we wanted to share that with you.
My name is David Milner. I'm the administrator of Herdmont Health and Rehabilitation in Elberton, Georgia, and I am very happy to be able to share this brief testimonial with you regarding the Culture Change Matters program. First of all, I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself and my journey with culture change. In January of 2016, I came to work for the first time ever at a long-term care facility. It was Herdmont, and I came to work as the Director of Maintenance and Housekeeping. By 2018, I was given the opportunity to attend the Eden Alternative Conference in Atlanta, Georgia, along with the Certified Eden Associate training later that year. Now, if you had asked me when I arrived in Atlanta what I did for a living, I would have probably said, I'm a maintenance man in an old folks home. But by the time I completed the training with Eden Alternative, I'd learned that I was indeed a caregiver, and I worked in a community of elders where I was able to daily give into their lives and receive back from them many times over. And since that point in time, I've gone ahead and taken an administrator and training course and become the administrator of the facility that I worked at. That's kind of who I am. When I was given the opportunity to participate in the Culture Change Matters pilot program that Georgia State has undertaken in conjunction with the Culture Change Network of Georgia, I was happy to participate because I wanted to bring my community more in alignment with the principles of person-centered and person-directed care. We have just about completed the program, and what I have found is that it is really beginning to change the mindsets of the people who are participating. It's really been a blessing to our facility and our community to be able to participate in this program. In fact, just yesterday, as we were going through the courses with the direct care workers, I asked them at the end of the session, I said, I didn't write this, so don't feel bad. You're not going to hurt my feelings. Tell me honestly, what do you think of what we're learning so far? And I think the most poignant of the answers that I received was from one lady who said, well, it's really showing me that I need to consider what I do from the perspective of the people that I'm doing it for. That's really what culture change is all about. Putting ourselves in the shoes of the other people, the ones who we help, the ones who we've called patients, the ones who we've called residents, the ones who we've labeled many things. But when we understand that they are an elder, when we understand that they're a person with wants, desires, and needs, it really has the ability to change the way that we interact with them on a daily basis. Like I said, we're just about finished with the program at this point in time, and I expect great things to come. I expect that the lingering effect of the people who have gone through the modules and the courses, lesson by lesson, is going to be that when they're on the front lines, when they're doing the work, something that was said, something that they heard will come back to their memory. And when it does, they'll put it into action. So overall, I believe that the Culture Change Matters program has been a great benefit to Piedmont, and I hope and expect to see great results as we continue.
Wow.
So it's 10:28, so I stayed on time. But I just wanted to say a last thing was thank you to all of our partners, to Leading Age, to Georgia Healthcare Association, to Alliant Health Solutions, to all the people that show up in the advisory committee every quarter. It's been amazing, the community that's come together to support this grant. We could not have done it without your input and your willingness to get on the phone with us and problem solve and make these things happen. And so we're very thankful and very grateful for all that support. And we're gonna ask it of you again. And so thank you for this time, and thank you for the support going forward.
Wow, that's excellent. And pay a lot of attention to it because it's coming out, and we designed this grant so it can be used in any setting to give an overview of culture change, and you'll see a lot about it. It's just excellent. Okay, we're going to move along. We have a couple of mini presentations, 5-minute ones. And the first is Linda Kluge with Alliant Quality Solutions.
Thank you. Thank you. So glad to be here. And thank you, Walter, for teeing this up. And, Walter, I have to think it was probably back in 07 or 08 that you said, I'm working on my annual evaluation and I want a goal that says I'm going to get started on a culture change group. And I thought to myself, well, that's an ambitious goal. And look at where we are today. That is just a great success. And evaluating our work and evaluating where we've been and where we're going is part of this all the time. And it really is all about quality improvement. How do you wake up in the morning and know that you can do better? And for many of you, it could start on a personal adventure, a journey, when you have a family member that needs care, or when you have a neighbor that is struggling, and we think we can do better. We can change people's lives with this kind of work. So let me just tell you a little bit about the Quality Improvement Organization for Georgia and why it's so important to us to be at the table. One of the things we've done since the nursing home work has been introduced to these quality improvement organizations around the country in 2002 is to come alongside providers and say, how can we assist you? And we work on CMS initiated goals that we set. And the goals that we set now at this point in time here in 2021 is a set of goals around nursing homes, communities, and infection control work. And we've really been working very hard in those areas to provide technical assistance, one-on-ones, coaching calls, and then also looking at learning and action networks and office hours and affinity groups. How can we bring people together with similar problems? How can we provide education around NHSN reporting? You know, what are people struggling with out there with readmissions? We're currently working really hard on an important tool that was also from a CMS funded CMP grant, civil money penalty grant. And that is Ruth Tappan's work on the decision guide. And that decision guide helps people, you know, make very important discussions with family members happen in hospital settings, in nursing home settings, in community settings, where people can think about, what do I want the future to look like? And if I am in a nursing home, what do I want that life to look like? So we're working hard on that as part of our person-centered care focus. As you know, we're working on, for those of you who've been partnering with the QIO on infection control items, you know, all the work that has been done in the last 20 or so months to really take that deep dive into caring and keeping people safe, whether it's our staff or our residents in facilities, making sure that originally just, you know, testing was being able to be provided, but then also working on how we were cohorting buildings and how we were making sure people had the basics. You know, long-term care is a unique setting. There isn't the cadre of professional staff to come alongside. So we have provided infection prevention specialists to come on site to the nursing homes to be able to work with them and to keep the residents safe. So it's really been a journey these past many months that you have been on with us, and we just appreciate that. And then, you know, keeping people out of the hospital. You know, Kim and Walter worked on a wonderful video about how important it is to know that if someone with dementia goes to a hospital, they may not be in the safest place. And especially during COVID, when people didn't have people with them that could anticipate and work with them. So we have an ED affinity group that spends time digging deep into their data around who's going back and forth to the emergency room and why is that happening. And I know partners like GHCA and Pam and folks there have been working with us on that too, to really look at where do we have issues with that and how can we stop that cycle of using the emergency department to provide care and to really make sure that the person who goes into the ED is well cared for. We have great examples of geriatric emergency departments that have done a great job that we've been sharing on. So great work being done there. In those learning and action events, coming up in January is one on antipsychotics. And you know, for many of us in Georgia, we have had a mixed history with antipsychotics being highest in the nation, coming down to in the 20s, and now we're back up in the 40s. And so we really need to jump on that and do good work in that, or have it continue to be done. And I saw that Angela Watkins, who has really done a beautiful job with that at her building, and with her team, they are participating in today's rally. So we're happy to have them on board. And then working on health equity. How can we make sure that priority populations have not been missed, and how we can support them best in our rural counties, which there are many of in Georgia, and for our areas that we know in senior centers where maybe some are not getting all the access to care due to other reasons. Maybe it's transportation. So what I love about this Culture Change Network is we're not just looking at long-term care, we're looking at how that person travels through the entire healthcare system. Thank you for the time to be with you today.
Oh, perfect. You would have known Linda had hers timed out beautifully, of course. Thank you. We've been very intentional from the very beginning of the network to make sure we have providers and associations and people representing the full spectrum of aging services where older adults are served anywhere. And now to give us a background on what's going on in community-based services, Cara Pelino, right? Did I get it right?
Correct.
Close.
Correct.
Okay. I was gonna add one more syllable in there, but I know it's Pelino. Atlanta Regional Commission Area Agency on Aging. So
Yeah.
here we
Thanks
go.
so much. It's so good to see so many familiar faces. I'm hoping you can see my screen, and I'm going to start the slideshow. If it lets me.
Yep.
Okay. All right. I am Cara Polino. I'm with the Atlanta Regional Commission's Area Agency on Aging. And at the core of that work is I oversee the Access to Services unit. And at the core of that work is the Aging and Disability Resource Connection. And that is, or the ADRC. And that is the front door to aging services, both those we do directly and those that we work with our partners for. So we're linking people to services, resources, and information. At the heart of that service, though, is person-centered approach to everything we do. That's not just a fluffy word that we throw around. It's in the Division of Aging Services policy, it's in our internal protocols, and it's in our training. So we're always focused on being person-centered first. When COVID hit, we quickly saw a change in community needs. We saw that people were requesting groceries delivered at home versus home delivered meals. We saw caregivers who were now, as day programs were closed, they were working at home, they were caring for loved ones while working full time. We saw older adults not wanting the staff that they had in place coming into their homes because they were afraid of COVID. They were just left my head. They were socially isolating to stay safe. And we were concerned about that too. People being lonely, staff not going in to see them. And so we were fortunate enough to receive some funding through the CARES Act. And we quickly realized the change in the need, and we were able, fortunately, to make some changes to programming and to services to help meet those needs. So we quickly revised our little brochure that we send out to people to let them know we're aware the need is changing. Call us, we can help you. And at any point in this, for anyone, that empowerline.org is our ADRC, and I'll have that number at the end. So in getting the CARES Act funding, it allowed us a little more flexibility. We're funded with state and federal dollars, Medicaid and Older Americans Act funding, and they come with some strings, and people are, choice is not always at the forefront. So with this money that was more flexible, we were able to look at needs and see how we can better run programs. The first one we did was a regional voucher program. ARC partnered with Jewish Family and Career Services to offer regional, Metro Atlanta regional respite voucher. This was important. Some counties, believe it or not, do not have funding for respite programs. People can privately pay for anything, but some counties don't have respite. And then the counties that do have respite, it's often prescribed. So it would be, you get this staff in your home this day, these hours. The JFNCS regional respite voucher that afforded much more flexibility in that they can choose to either have the staff come into their home, and they can choose who came into their home. They can choose the agency, which was the biggest change, or they can, the person being cared for would have the option to go to an adult day program. So it offered a lot of choice. This money for this was spent extremely quickly. The need was very great. So that program is currently on hold, but we're hoping to get the American Recovery Funds and continue the program. So we're really happy about that. The other thing we saw, trying to keep track of time. The other thing we saw, as I said, people were asking for different things. We also saw more people calling for help with things like utility assistance. A lot of caregivers had lost employment, and they were the ones that were helping their loved ones with bills. So now that wasn't an option, people were having a hard time paying their bills. We created a material aid bucket of service for people that provided more flexibility in what they actually needed to help them at that time. So they could get groceries delivered instead of home delivered meals. They can have some personal protective equipment delivered. We could pay for some utility bills, which was a huge help to people, and that was the majority of where the money went. And then we also were able to provide people with assistive technology. So maybe if staff wasn't coming into the home, but there are assistive technology tools to help people with bathing and dressing, meal preparation, we could put those in place for those people. Also, tablets were huge during that time, one, to keep people socially connected, but we also had people who were able to maintain their medical appointments, their support groups, and even some virtual day programs. One of my favorite programs of all times is a consumer-directed model of service. And this is ultimately, in a consumer-directed model, it's a philosophy and it is also a program model. So this, it really speaks to the person becoming an employer of service and having a monthly budget to choose which services and goods they'd like. So in traditional services, a support plan is created and a professional, a case manager, would come in and say, you know, this is likely what you need based on your assessments. We're going to have this provider come in this day, this time, and these are your buckets of service, which is very helpful for people, but doesn't offer a lot of choice. The consumer-directed model, actually, the person becomes an employer of service with the IRS. It's not as complicated as it sounds, and we're here to help people do this program. But the person becomes an employer of service, which means that they can hire their own employees, meaning family, friends. They can still work with professional agencies if that is what they choose. They can determine the rates of pay. They can determine the hours when the person comes in. But outside of that, they can really choose any service or item that helps them maintain or improve independence, stay in the community, and reduce caregiver burden. So let me just check the time real quick. So we've had people use the budget. There was a family, a husband, wife, young children, the mother-in-law moved in with dementia. The children did not recognize this new grandma with dementia, and that they were struggling. This program allowed them to pay for therapy for the children. We've had people pay for yard work, for home modifications, for, again, assistive technology, transportation, anything that speaks to what they need. Even the meals, they could purchase meals. They don't have to do traditional home delivered meals. They can purchase meals if it's a rural area and they need to have some meals. We've worked with restaurants before that would provide that service to them. So right now, this program is because it was with COVID money, it's a 6-month program. We're hoping it will be extended. Clients use their budget. It's a monthly budget now of $475, but they use it completely flexibly. And that is ideally, it's why I love the program so much, because it's all about the person's, what they're choosing to do, not what we as professionals go in and say, based on this is what you need. This is asking them, what do you need? And what is your preference? How do you want this service delivered? Who do you want it to be? Is it your family member who you know and love and speaks your language and you have dementia? And it's important to keep that same person working with you. So those were a few of the programs that we were able to implement. And we're really hopeful that we'll be able to embed them into longer term supports.
Yeah. Well, what an example of being person directed. I love it. It's incredible.
Absolutely.
Okay,
All
let's
about
jump
support.
in. Yeah, thanks. There's always significant policy issues going on in our state and has been for years. A lot of successes. Again, I think because everybody's working together to make life better for older Georgians. It just we always move forward, sometimes fast and sometimes slow. But Pam Clayton, Jenny Helms, and Kim McRae are going to talk a little bit about some of the things that are in motion now that are very creating the opportunity to change the culture of the way we support older people and individuals living with disabilities in our state too. So I'll give you like a little peace sign, but that just means you have 2 minutes left. All right, because I know y'all could each do an hour program on your own. So.
I'm Jenny Helms with Leading Age Georgia, and we're the association that supports the not-for-profit organizations that provide housing and services to older adults. And we're heavily engaged in public policy, and I hope today some of you all will get more excited about it and want to engage deeper along with us. And one of the things I'm excited about is that all of the issues that I'm going to talk about and that we're going to talk about truly are person-centered care, which is the foundation of the culture change. And as some of you may know, funding for home and community-based services is an issue that is chosen by COAGE, the Coalition of Advocates for Georgia's Elderly, on an annual basis. And the reason for that is there are so many people on the waiting list who want to stay at home and who need services like in-home care, respite, and other services that allow them to stay in the community. And because there's always a waiting list, we've decided that this is an annual ask. There is good news that I want people to be aware of, and that is that there is a bill before Congress that recognizes that people want this. And so they're looking at doing away with the caps on this so that if a person needs it in the future, they will have it available. So we're all hopeful that that will get passed on the federal level. Be a great thing if you contacted your congressman and said, make it happen. You know, they need to hear from us. Another issue that we're working on is Medicaid funding in assisted living. In the state of Georgia, Medicaid is allowed in personal care homes. But what we're seeing in affordable housing communities, like our HUD communities that serve seniors, is that people oftentimes rock along and they have some decreased health issues, or they have more cognitive problems, and they need an additional level of service. But because Medicaid isn't allowed in assisted living, they're not allowed to get that level of service. And so a lot of people go directly from affordable housing into assisted living. Some go into the personal care homes, but the truth is they don't have the nursing oversight and can't really provide the care that people sometimes need. So the reality is this level of care has been available for people who can afford it. It's not available for people who can't afford it. We'll be asking the state to allow Medicaid in assisted living, and this will mean rethinking their thought pattern, which is that they think that for it to be a community, that it has to be 24 beds or less. The reality is that's not really person-centered, because it is cheating that person with limited income out of having assisted living, which can be their community when they need that level of care. So we're working on that. There's also a request for funding for increasing awareness about the Ombudsman program. And that's really just to make sure that people in long-term care and nursing homes have that voice when it is needed to work on issues that they might be experiencing. The CARE Act is an issue that we're working on along with AARP, who's leading the charge on this. And this is simply to make sure that when a person is in a hospital, that there's a discharge plan that really reflects person-centered care, what that person wants, what the family wants. And it's a much more thorough approach to releasing from the hospital. And I'm very excited about that. In a minute, I'm going to ask Kim to talk about the expand nursing home option and Pam Clayton to talk about some staffing issues, but I wanted to throw out a couple little things first that I hope that everybody will be aware of. And that is the workforce shortage is playing havoc on the long-term care industry. We really need to have adequate staffing in order to have quality care. And everybody throughout the continuum of care is seeing the shortage. In-home care right now, companies are turning people who call up and ask for services, they're turning them down right and left. The biggest referral source is other companies who can't meet the needs. And so as we move forward in all that we do, it's very important that we realize that we've got to establish cultures where workforce are truly honored and valued for the wonderful support that they give to our older adults. And we are looking at doing all that we can to fortify them. I know that Walter Coffey started the Leadership Academy, and Alliant has been kind enough to provide us grants. That's investing in staff, and they feel it. But we need all that we do to focus on recognizing the importance of staffing. And I want all advocates to know that too. For example, last year when the assisted living regulations were passed, the legislation was passed, and this past year the state has developed the rules. Well, one of the rules they came up with is that there needs to be a nurse on every floor. Well, that's not very practical. For example, in one of our communities that is really only 24 beds, but it's 3 floors, they're looking at becoming unlicensed and just going into independent care because they can't afford 1 nurse per floor. And so we're having to look at all of these different issues. And I want to make sure that everybody has the way of thinking that any legislation, any policies need to really be thoughtful of the workforce. How do we fortify them? How do we not put issues in place that are going to cause a greater hardship? And I also want to see us all move towards a less of a punitive attitude in our regulations, in our surveys. I know that like in Wisconsin, they have this wonderful checklist for quality of care and assisted living. And it was their equivalent of Department of Community Health that funded that. So that might sound a little bit rambling, but I just want to say we need to be fortifying those folks. I will say that we're seeking funding for fortifying the adult day centers that were really affected by COVID, that pretty much all shut down their doors. There's also an ask similar to that for assisted living and for nursing homes. And one of the things that we really want everybody to think about is we need that continuum of care. So we need to be fortifying each different type of provider so that that care is there for those who need it. Now, who wants to go next, Pam or Kim?
Pam, you jump right in.
Okay, that is fine. I certainly won't take a lot of time this morning because I have the good pleasure of hopping off and reviewing in detail CMS's interim final rule that just dropped related to the vaccine mandate. So we'll want to sift through that and ensure that providers are brought up to speed. But thank you all so much for the opportunity to be with you today. I really appreciate it. It's so nice to see many of your faces that I haven't got to see in a bit, albeit by video, but nevertheless, appreciate the partnership that we enjoy and the collective efforts of everyone that is on today. We all recognize it is not a one association, one person, one entity show. It takes all of us, and I appreciate the collective efforts of the Culture Change Network of Georgia. As Jenny indicated, GHCA, which serves providers across the continuum, we are the trade association supporting home and community-based services, assisted living providers, as well as skilled nursing facilities. And Jenny's exactly right. We respect the need for the full continuum of care in order to meet the individual where they are in their respective needs. We are heavily engaged relative to policy, and but approaching that from a standpoint of quality of care, quality of life, certainly from a person-centered, person-directed perspective. And there is a lot going on right now in the policy arena. And so we are very engaged. We had HFR doing a webinar recently around the new rules for AL and personal care homes. And I share in the concern about the staffing interpretation because I'm afraid that it's going to be unsustainable relative to an operating model for a lot of folks based upon the way that they're interpreting that. And I think interpreting is the key there. So we'll continue to engage around that. We have been meeting just yesterday. I met with our quality committee at GHCA to discuss in detail our strategic plan for the next 2 years and get their approval to move that forward to GHCA's board. And I wanted to just it really centered around 3 pillars, and that was employee engagement, customer service, and workforce. And so I think all of these pieces are critical to ensuring quality of care, quality of life. Without an adequate and competent workforce, we simply cannot deliver on our mission of quality of care and quality of life. So we really have some exciting things. I noted that Angela Watkins with Magnolia Manor is on, and she is actually the co-chair of the quality committee, and delighted to have her with us and also to be supporting us in that effort. So we've got some really aspirational things planned around resources and initiatives to support learning and professional development of clinical leadership, as well as the frontline workers within the centers. And we said it's going to be a heavy lift, but I'm probably more excited about this strategic plan than I have been any in some time. And so we're looking to really engage with the agencies around how can we look at our pipeline, the educational setting, some of those barriers to folks growing in terms of right now, Georgia has had well over 10,000 people participate in the temporary nurse aid assistance program that was made possible by CMS's waiver through the public health emergency. We simply cannot afford to leave one TNA behind that shares in our mission of quality of care and quality of life. So we've got to remove any barriers that would prevent or impede them from moving forward to full certification. And so right now we have a backlog around CNA testing. And so let's get a model in place for online testing. We need to really, move to a place of what our operating reality looks like today. I think that's very possible. I think the department agrees with us. It's a matter of getting things into place. We're delighted to share that the certified medication aid legislation was passed last session for the skilled nursing centers. It has been initially adopted by DCH, and we're awaiting final adoption on that. And folks now have the ability to go ahead and be working toward their infrastructure and training program. I will say that, we anticipate that will help us from a license standpoint, kind of augmenting where there's some licensed nurse vacancies, but we're not looking to replace nurses. We're looking to augment so that they can further practice within their scope. It will offer a career ladder for CNAs and growth opportunities. So we're super excited about the CMA program. And presently, just to plug for the Education and Research Foundation, I want to publicly thank Alliant Health Solutions for their donation, generous donation to the Education and Research Foundation to fund nurse scholarships to assist those that want to continue their education. We have actively, the application period is ongoing. We'll be closing that November 15th and making decisions around scholarship awards. So please go on our website and look at more information. This is open to folks, in all of the various settings, because we just want to invest in their professional development. And again, thank you, Alliant Health Solutions. I am wrapping up, Kim, I promise. We are awaiting a decision. GHCA did put forward a grant application for ARP funds to support staff fortification as well as access to care. So we're awaiting the decision on that. And it's just critically needed. So we hope that that will be favorable. And again, know that we are committed to ensuring that individuals have the ability to be served in the right setting at the right time to meet their individual needs. But I think we all do have to be very laser focused around the challenges with workforce and how we can address those challenges. Thank you all again for the time to catch up, and certainly always available for questions. Reach out anytime. And Kim, I will bounce it to you.
Thank you, Pam. I'll just be really quick. I'm so thrilled that we all are working so closely to try and infuse culture change and person-centered care into all that we're doing in the state from a policy perspective. As Jenny mentioned, there are also so many things going on nationally, and the Pioneer Network, a group that Rosemarie is helping lead, the Live Oak project in collaboration with Pioneer Network, is just trying to pull those things together and help reach out in DC to help make sure that folks understand how these things fit together. There's so many different pieces going on from a policy perspective, and Pioneer, this group, is really trying to make sure that the folks on the Hill understand the culture and the importance of the workforce is key to anything happening. So that work is happening wonderfully. And to add to another co-age issue that Jenny mentioned, there's an issue that is out there to get a legislative study committee to look at and bring together people on how we can expand nursing home options in Georgia. So they're all over the country. There are all these great greenhouses and small houses and cottages and neighborhoods. And so this study committee is to really look at and figure out how to really remove barriers and bring all types of innovation to Georgia. So stay tuned to that. I put the co-age link in the box. So everybody just sign up and stay connected, and let's get this stuff done.
Fantastic. Wow, that was great. It's just so moving to see everything that's in motion and how everybody's at the same table. I mean, it's just so unusual. And one of the people that helped us get there is Abby Cox. And Abby, thank you for joining us. I know she was rushing to get connected. And so we have about 15 minutes for you to talk about GUARD and what's going on and how it all works. And so here you go.
Here I go. Okay, thank you, Walter. And so good to see so many friends and your faces. Hey, everybody. If I don't know you, I'm Abby Cox, and I'm the Assistant Deputy Commissioner at the Department of Human Services. I'm over aging services. So the first person that can repeat that back wins today. But right. I did want to talk about some of the work that we're doing around GUARD. If y'all don't know that acronym, it's one that we all should know. It's the Georgia Alzheimer's and Related Dementia. We have a state plan in Georgia, which really sets us apart from many other states. And from the very beginning, and it predates me, in 2013, a collaborative group came together to envision what this state plan would look like. And we have grown in not only the size of people who have remained at the table and voicing what the priorities should be in that state plan. So we've grown in size, grown in numbers, and grown in perspectives, which is always a good thing. So in our state plan, which was just recently updated, you would see that we have several work groups, and anybody is invited to be a part of those work groups. And in that state plan, you will see it lists out the goals and the objectives for each of these topic areas. So the first one is around research and data. We all know that the research and data drives practice. So we rely heavily on our researchers, to help inform us and the ways in which we should be augmenting the way that we perhaps are delivering services. Workforce development. Now we have a goal that specifically talks about person-centeredness here. It's develop a person-centered, dementia-capable, culturally responsive workforce. I got on and I heard Pam talking about the workforce crisis that we all know is here. We have seen this coming for a long time in our GARD work groups and have been trying to be proactive in addressing it. And I think that a lot of that work has been helpful for us. But we certainly have a goal here that is specific to being person-centered. We don't just need to get bodies in to serve people. We need the right people who have the right skills to serve individuals who are living with a form of dementia. And our service delivery group, one of our goals here is to support efforts that provide training for care partners and volunteers in person-centered care. Again, we are seeing this person-centered theme woven into so much of what we are doing in this state plan. The training component is huge. We've got paid staff and we've got unpaid staff, those caregivers who are carrying such a big portion of the care given to people living with dementia. So we need to make sure that they understand what delivering person-centered care looks like. Public safety is another one of our groups, and one of our goals in there is to ensure the inclusion of people living with cognitive decline and dementia and considerations for their unique needs and the state's emergency preparedness plan. If COVID-19 has taught us anything, it's that we need to be at the table when emergency preparedness plans are being developed. Again, we can't just go and serve people and check a list. There is an appropriate way that we need to be interacting with older adults and certainly individuals who are living with a form of dementia. And what we just see in this particular goal is that we need to be including the unique needs of this population as emergency preparedness plans are developed and deployed. Outreach and partnership. One of the goals there is to educate the public and organizations to become more quote unquote dementia friendly with dementia inclusive across all types of dementia. So really moving away of just being specifically talking about one form of dementia, we're talking about all forms of dementia in the work that we're doing in GARD and making sure that that is recognized when we're going out and doing outreach and developing these partnerships. And then the last one, our last work group is policy. And we, one of the goals there is promote awareness and implementation of local policies that support dementia inclusion and dementia friendliness. So Ken was talking about speaking with lawmakers and people on the Hill. It is important as policy is set at all levels that they understand not only the work of GARD, but the importance of being person-centered as policy is developed. Many of you are aware that we have been making big strides in creating dementia friends and dementia friendly efforts across the state. This is one way that we can be person-centered and the way that people are able to recognize signs of dementia, but engage with individuals who are living with the form of dementia. We've distributed dementia friendly grants. We've worked with the Georgia Gerontology Society on that. And then the last piece that I want to leave us with is just, again, the great collaborative nature that's going on with our GARD work. And one of the big elements there is the Be Seen Project, which the Department of Public Health is championing, and we are at the table with so many others on this rally today to make sure that we're creating a dementia-friendly public health system. There are so many parts and pieces to that, but again, it's our efforts to be person-centered in the way that all of us recognize and work with individuals who are living with a form of dementia.
Whew. Okay. And thank you. That's a lot of great stuff. And so these are things that you can keep up with, you know, all along. And we'll go ahead and move into our kind of our wrap up and next steps. We want to tell you about the new grant that is just getting ready to be kicked off, the upcoming summit,
Walter,
some of the more technologies.
you-
Yes.
we need to have Rachel speak a minute.
Oh, we do?
Yeah.
I knew that. I was just testing her.
Yeah. Okay. Just making sure.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. I'm sorry, I turned my page over and skipped it. Okay, so Rachel, no wonder we were ahead of schedule. I was like, dang, everybody's doing a really good job. So Rachel Wilson, Tools of Life, and we're so glad to have our disability partners at the table and all the work they're doing in dementia and as people age with disabilities. And I mean, they're all over it. So Rachel.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here with you all. And I've got my colleague, Sal Kibler, on as well. We are from Tools for Life. And for those who don't know us, we are the assistive technology program at Georgia Tech and for the state of Georgia, actually for the whole entire state. Every state has an assistive technology program, and we're just fortunate enough to be here in Atlanta and housed at Georgia Tech. We're centered within a program called Center for Inclusive Design and Innovation, where everything is all about accessibility for anybody, for any disability whatsoever. We also like to be proud to say that, we've always been person-centered. We look at the person's abilities and try to match whatever kinds of struggles or challenges that they're having, whether it's a sensory challenge or cognitive or whatever it could be, mental health, and try to find different solutions that could meet those needs for any aspect of their life, for school, for home, for work, for play, recreation, and even, making sure that people can live in their homes and the home of their choice for as long as they want to, and be as safe and as independent as can be. And so our program has over 20,000, probably more than that, different devices, assistive technologies from low tech to high tech, whether it's something to help somebody feed themselves to getting dressed in the morning, maybe some cognitive challenges, different devices that we can use to help somebody carry through their day, or even help lessen some of the burdens of a care provider. We have all different kinds of assistive technologies. What we love to do is we love to do trainings and presentations and webinars, and we do demonstrations, and we also loan devices out so people can actually try the devices before they buy it to see if it even works for them. And so during this whole pandemic, obviously things have been kind of rocking all over the place, but we've been busier than ever, and we continue to do everything in just a virtual way. We ship out everything that, to help somebody. We meet people and work on, trying to deliver some sort of demonstration through the video. While we've been on this pandemic, we've also reorganized our lab. So if you haven't been to our lab, love for you to come when things kind of calm down a little bit. But we have really great areas now where you can look at different devices for whether it's dementia, whether it's for hearing or vision loss. We have an amazing AAC lab where communication, we have a speech language pathologist. So for people who have challenges with speaking or communicating, and we saw that with the whole pandemic, where people can't communicate with their loved ones. And so we have a whole lab that actually has dedicated devices, again, low tech to high tech, whatever the needs are, to be able to communicate with loved ones and everybody. We were very fortunate, through the years to work with the AAAs across the state, because we do cover the entire state. And so through the AAAs, we set up assistive technologies and continue to work with the AAAs in answering questions and trainings and providing more assistive technologies and help. And then also we've worked with the CARES Act, which honestly, I'm so excited to say that we have the opportunity with the CARES Act funds to be able to literally deliver assistive technologies to help people. And there's one especially touching story that I got to work with somebody who the individual was caring for their husband with dementia, and she herself was aging and had some physical challenges. And so to be able to listen to her story, and she was struggling, he was up all night and not sleeping. So of course, as a care provider, she's not sleeping all night. And so she was trying to keep him at home as long as possible. So it was so cool. And I said, it's Christmas and birthday and all the holidays, whatever holiday you celebrate, we were able to send her all sorts of devices that would be helpful, and then got the follow-up report that, yeah, in fact, it did help. She got a robotic dog. Her husband, who would sleep all day and then stay up all night, used a robotic dog and hung out with that dog and connected with the dog, that would turn over and bark and all that kind of stuff. So really amazing work. And we're looking forward to hopefully getting to continue that work. I know I only had a few minutes, but it's just great to be here. If you all have any questions, I don't know if Sal, if I left anything out, but please, reach out to us anytime. We love to connect with people and with technology and meet people where they are.
No, that's perfect. So thank you.
Thank you.
I noticed in the beginning that Dana Pentis from Eden Alternative International who lives in Georgia girl. So Dana, thank you for being here today. Thank you for participating and all that Eden does to support our work here. But it means a lot that you've taken the initiative to participate as well. Okay, so next steps. Whatever I was saying, I meant to say earlier and did maybe. So whatever that means, it's back to you, Jen.
I love it. That's awesome. Thank you. So the new grant. So we are very grateful to have been awarded a second civil monetary penalties grant. I have to owe it to Pam Clayton for helping us reframe in a revision and think through a trauma-informed approach to delivering dementia care. We came up with infusing trauma-informed approach for different audiences, for Pioneer and then for GHCA, and as just a way to sort of give back, because we're feeling like all of these nursing home workers are dealing with so much during the pandemic, and we wanted to bring some relief and for healing. And then Pam was smart enough to say, well, why wouldn't you incorporate that into the next grant? And I thought, hey, Pam, you're just brilliant. So we did that and we got it, and that's very exciting. Thanks again to all our partners. We can't do it without you. We've added a partner. The Eden Alternative is an added partner this time. This is our team. We added 2 subject matter experts to the already fabulous team, which includes Cameron Camp, who is an expert in the Montessori method and engaging people living with dementia, and Leanne Royster, who's at Duke University, and who is an expert in trauma-informed approaches. So the point of this one is to, again, resource the state nursing homes, but also focusing in on person-centered dementia care, not just person-centered care, and use a trauma-informed approach. The education that we're developing, from the micro-learning to the live and asynchronous webinars, will focus on key competencies in trauma-informed approaches, person-centered dementia care, non-pharmacological approaches, resident engagement, inclusive communication, culture change, and evidence-based quality improvement. We focused on a trauma-informed approach, and it's a little bit different if you're a healthcare provider and you're used to trauma-informed care, really focusing in on residents and patients and thinking from mainly their perspective on an acute trauma that you're trying not to trigger and that you're trying to support. This is a little bit broader, and we're thinking about trauma-informed approaches to systems and to integrating knowledge about trauma into policies, procedures, and practices to really support what we see as the collective trauma that happened to all long-term care and support services. But in this grant, focused on nursing home staff who, we had 3,000 residents die as of May due to COVID in nursing homes. And we've had, the CNAs become even riskier workers in the bigger picture, and we have all these workforce problems. And so we really need to focus in and support this collective trauma towards healing. And this is a lovely figure that Dr. Susan Wary put together that we are saying really extends, the emotional highs and lows are really important. And there's been a lot of trauma, and that trauma is not only because of COVID, but it's overlaid by the systemic racism that has flared and become there, but also now flaring and supporting triggers and having anniversary reactions to all of those things that happened. And we know that direct care workers are a vulnerable group who are mostly women of color. And so there's a lot there that needs to be unpacked and supported. And so the 5 principles of trauma-informed care are really important to thinking about how this overlays with culture change and person-centered care. If we think about safety, what are the considerations at the community level, the organizational level for physical and psychological safety of nursing home staff? How do we create choice? And we talk about choice for residents all the time, but how do we also create choice for staff and help them to choose how to move through these different events and these different triggers in order to support their self-care and their wholeness and happiness. Collaboration, how do we get communities to make decisions with each other, with family, with residents, with staff? And how do we create trustworthiness? How do we create better trust between the direct care and support associates and the supervisors and the leaders and the whole community? How do we open that up to have transparency and support and community engagement? And then finally, how do we empower all members of a community to realize that their role is important, that they're affirmed in their role, and help them to make the appropriate choices together in the best, with the best information that they have. So it really feels person-centered, and it's a really nice approach overall to thinking a little bit more deeply and giving people some tools to heal after this really difficult time and as we continue into more difficult times. So we're hoping to reach everybody. Help us do that. We have partnered with GHCA. They're going to help us with one live event a year, which will be really exciting. And then we'll post that for asynchronous learning. And then we'll have 3 or 4 other events every year. And we're going to be targeting a 1% reduction. Of course, everybody is targeting the reduction, so we won't be able to take credit for it, but we're targeting it anyway. And then the other exciting part about this is that we are able to, in the last grant, we were able to give scholarships. In this grant, we're able to give seats for nursing home staff in 2 different programs, the Certified Eating Alternative Program and the Dementia Beyond Drugs. So this is our partnership with the Eating Alternative to allow for seats on the online training, and I'll let Kim and Walter talk about that in just a second. But again, we're using microlearning as a strategy. We're using live and asynchronous events as a strategy, and we're using seats in intensive education as a strategy to resource the state, specifically nursing home staff, but anybody who can use it to move forward. So I'll hand it back over to you, Kim and Walter.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as Jen mentioned, we have seats available for the Certified Eating Associate Training in Dementia Beyond Drugs, and we'll be offering 1 round of each class a year. So for the Certified Eating Associate Training, just be aware, I mean, Georgia has, over these years, we have over 900 people who've gone through this class. Which is just phenomenal. And this one is going to be running online March 1st through May the 10th. And it's 1:30 to 3. And we really urge everyone to be thinking about how to bring a team together to go through this from each nursing home so that everybody can be working together and exploring the topics together and figuring out how to bring them back, the practices into their organizations. And it has worked beautifully. We did several of these in the past year and it worked great. So next.
And Kim, that's for, I think the important thing to say is it's for all stakeholders in nursing homes. So it could be family members, residents themselves.
Right. Right.
Ombudsman surveyors. So we really want to, if you are connecting to a nursing center in your community, maybe try to get the ombudsman connected or some family members that you know that have loved ones living there, because they really make the experience very rich.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that. Yeah. And if at all possible, having different levels of the team, the people who can really make the big practice decisions happen. So it really is the heart and soul of person-centered planning. We've, as we've said, as Walter explained, we've used this as kind of our language and our combined framework throughout the years. Next slide. The other class educational opportunity that we're offering is Dementia Beyond Drugs. Also, this was in conjunction with Eden Alternative, and this is an excellent class based on the work of Dr. Al Power and all of his fabulous work on thinking differently about dementia. And we're going to be doing this one as a 6-week online session, and the dates are August 4th through September the 8th. And again, try and really bring teams together within each organization. And this will really help us delve into dementia and look at behaviors differently, and really try and bring approaches and practices and thinking that can reduce the use of antipsychotic and psychotropic medications and focus on the well-being of the people who are living with dementia. So we're just thrilled that we're able to offer this, and the seats available for nursing centers. So,
and that's once a week on Thursdays.
Thank you.
Right. So
Yeah.
the Eden Associate is once a week on Tuesdays for 11 weeks, and then the Dementia Beyond Drugs is once a week on Thursdays.
Yeah. In terms of next steps and other things we have going on November the 17th, we're having an Eden Associate and Friends gathering, and you can register for that on our website. And we're going to be having Gail Lancaster and some of her folks from Oaks, and they're going to be talking about their experience reaching milestone 3 with the Eden Alternative. So that will be fabulous. And we're going to go into more detail about our micro learning videos, and how to use them and how you can incorporate them into your world, into what you're doing. Next. So save the date, Wednesday, August 31st, 22 for the next summit. And we'll see how things are going. We will wait and see and try and figure things out closer to time, but go ahead and save that date. And then next, we just wanted to share the links and the website and the Facebook page, the YouTube page. Please just let's sign up for all these on our website. You can sign up for the newsletter and be added to our email list. And we just want to stay connected. And that's was the beauty of this this rally today, is to really celebrate all that we're doing in Georgia to work together and move forward together in our partnerships. And we're so thankful for all of you.
Okay. So maybe we should have, maybe this should have been a marathon instead of a rally, but we really covered a lot of stuff, and we appreciate you giving your time. Thanks to everybody who prepared to really keep us focused. We know that there's tons more going on than what we were able to represent today, but we wanted to capture some of this so we can get this recorded and people can keep up with all the many things that are going on. We know the pandemic offered us the gift of the opportunity to grow and to go to plan B and C and D, which might help us be more person-centered. We know with some study we did with some colleagues in Europe and in the US that the organizations, the nursing centers especially, that had adopted a person-centered approach felt like that they did much better during the pandemic, and that they really knew, the staff knew each other, they were working as teams, they knew their residents, and not one of them said that they would change their approach to care from being person-centered on all the ones that we interviewed in about 6 or 7 different countries. So just very interesting. And I wanted to also thank, we mentioned all those videos that we did, Joan Carlson and Rosemarie Fagan for working with Kim and I as the consultants for figuring all that out, but then Celeste Green for just sticking in with us and trying to get them all recorded and all that stuff. So it's been an incredible year, and we're just moving more and more into great things. So, and lastly, for the Gerontology Institute at Georgia State, Doctors Elizabeth Burgess and Jennifer Kraft Morgan, if they hadn't stepped out and said, let's do it, we'll do it, we can do it, we wouldn't have this national treasure of the Culture Change Matters stuff that we've all been wanting to put together for 10 or 15 years. So watch for it. It's life-changing, and just stay in touch with us. One last thing. We're going to start a share campaign next year, trying to get Culture Change Georgia amplifiers. So we need you to spread the word, get people to start following on Facebook, like Celeste said, like the YouTube channels. And these playlists, they're gold. So even maybe with your congregations, you could have a quarterly thing about, with older adults and feature a playlist. I mean, the sky's the limit on how we can use these materials, but there's no better material. So think about how to use that and spread the word, because we've got like quality stuff. We just need to get it out there in your communities, organizations, congregations. It's just incredible. So thanks for sticking with it. And we'll see you, some of you guys, at the Eden Associate and Friends meeting on November 17th.
Yeah.
And that's it, right?
That's it.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.